Fox News announced in a one-sentence statement that it has parted ways with Kimberly Guilfoyle. Kimberly Guilfoyle dominated Fox News for more than a decade. She disappeared without warning. There is no farewell part. There is no public explanation. Just a discreet disappearance that raised more concerns than answers. What happened behind the scenes, and why has she been silent so long? Kimberly Guilfoyle, a former Fox personality, was fired due to inappropriate behavior, lending credibility to previous reports. She said she was sexually harassing an assistant of hers while working at Fox. At 55, she's finally ready to talk, and what she reveals alters everything. The truth of her hasty departure has been hidden for years, but it is about to be revealed. Was this a career decision or something more significant? The response may not be what you expected. Kimberly Guilfoyle's career was not founded just on ambition. It was driven by unwavering determination. Long before she became a popular figure on television, she made waves in the legal world, earning a reputation as a sharp and tough prosecutor. Born in San Francisco in 1969, she was nurtured by her Irish father and Puerto Rican mother, a cultural blend that influenced her resiliency. But tragedy struck early. Kimberly's mother died of leukemia when she was only 11. It was a watershed event for her, one that strengthened her will and independence. That fortitude sustained her through law school when she graduated from the University of San Francisco. While many of her peers followed the normal path, she had higher plans. She worked as a prosecutor in Los Angeles before returning to her birthplace and joining the San Francisco District Attorney's Office. She handled everything from serious felonies to high-profile matters, demonstrating her ability to hold her own in the courtroom. Her acute legal intellect and powerful presence helped her stand out. But it wasn't just her prowess that drew attention. It was her ability to connect with others. She had a way of making complicated legal battles understandable to the general public. That natural charisma opened doors outside of the courtroom, and in 2000, she made an unexpected career change. She then worked as a legal analyst on television. Guilfoyle's on-screen career began modestly, with guest appearances breaking down court issues for major networks. She had a flair for blending authority and accessibility, making even the most complex legal issues appear straightforward. It wasn't long until media executives took notice. By 2004, she had secured a spot on Both Sides, a court TV show that discussed contentious judicial issues. Her biggest breakthrough, however, came when Fox News called. In 2006, she joined the network as a legal expert and pundit. It was the ideal fit. Her courtroom experience earned her credibility, and her natural ease on television made her the go-to voice for legal news in the coming years. She became a fixture on primetime television, commenting on some of the country's most hotly debated cases. Her advancement at Fox was quick. By 2011, she had gained a coveted position on The Five, a panel-style discussion show that combined news and analysis. The format catered to her strengths. She was no longer just providing legal analysis. She was also participating in heated debates, making keen commentary on current events, and cementing her reputation as one of the network's most famous faces. The audience replied. She brought enthusiasm to the table, combining legal knowledge with a sharp, often funny delivery. Whether they agreed or disagreed with her, they listened. Her star power increased, as did her role at Fox. She began appearing on several shows, filling in as a guest host and becoming one of the network's most popular personalities. By the mid-2010s, Kimberly Guilfoyle had achieved a level of success that few could match. She had spent years establishing her career, transitioning easily from the courtroom to television, demonstrating time and again that she was more than simply a recognizable face, but a force to be reckoned with. However, success typically comes at a cost, and just as it appeared that she had secured her position at the top, everything changed. Kimberly Guilfoyle was a well-known figure on Fox News for many years. She was a regular on The Five, a fixture in the network's primetime schedule, and a popular pundit. She had created an environment in which she thrived, giving enthusiasm and competence to every sector. However, in July 2018, everything came to an abrupt halt. Without warning, she vanished. There is no farewell part. There is no tribute. The unexpected departure left viewers with more questions than answers. The official statement offered a tidy picture. Guilfoyle had decided to leave to pursue new opportunities. She was specifically interested in participating in the 2020 presidential campaign. On paper, it appeared to be a deliberate move, a premeditated transition from journalism to politics. However, things did not quite add up. High-profile television personalities do not leave a primetime role abruptly, especially without a carefully prepared exit. The quiet on Fox News was deafening. Rumors started spreading very immediately. Some thought that she was forced out, and that there was more to the story than the network or Guilfoyle were ready to reveal. Others alluded to internal issues, implying that her departure had been planned for some time. However, no one had a definitive solution. All the world knew was that one of Fox's most well-known personalities had vanished, and no one was talking. Her decision to become a political activist appeared to corroborate fears that something had gone wrong behind the scenes. The transition seemed abrupt, even reactive. Within weeks, she was on the campaign trail, attending rallies and fundraisers. She had effortlessly transitioned, but the circumstances surrounding her leaving remained unclear. For someone who had spent more than a decade at Fox News, the lack of fanfare was odd. Other significant people who had departed the network, whether amicably or controversially, were given some closure. Despite his disgrace, Bill O'Reilly featured a piece commemorating his leaving. Megyn Kelly's departure was announced with headlines and a public farewell. What about Kimberly Guilfoyle? She was simply gone, as if the network wished to delete her existence entirely. In the months that followed, the curiosity only intensified. Has she been pushed out? Was there more to the tale that Fox News didn't want to reveal? And why did she move on so quickly without confronting the elephant in the room? For the time being, those queries went unanswered. Kimberly had left the news desk and entered an altogether new world. Even as she welcomed her new role, one truth remained. Something big had occurred behind the scenes at Fox News, abruptly ending a decade-long career. And whatever it was, she wasn't discussing it. Not yet. The New Yorker's stunning expose: for 2 years, Kimberly Guilfoyle's exit from Fox News remained unknown. There were whispers, speculations, and a lot of speculation, but no clear answers. Then, in October 2020, the New Yorker delivered a bombshell. According to a detailed investigative study, Kimberly was forced out of Fox News following an internal inquiry into significant claims of misbehavior, rather than leaving voluntarily. The piece depicted a picture that differed significantly from the conventional narrative of a smooth transition into politics. According to the report, the network undertook an internal investigation after an employee, Guilfoyle's assistant, raised worrisome allegations. The claims were not limited to office turmoil or artistic disputes. They were about workplace wrongdoing, which was significant enough that Fox News opted to terminate ties right away. Details in the report were alarming. It claimed that Kimberly had acted inappropriately toward her assistant, including making unwelcome advances and exposing her to sexual discussions and photographs. Accusations varied from uncomfortable to downright disturbing, with allegations that she had created a hostile work atmosphere. According to the story, the assistant was pressured to remain silent and was offered money in exchange for signing a non-disclosure agreement. Fox News had already dealt with a number of high-profile workplace misbehavior problems. Roger Ailes, Bill O'Reilly, and other prominent figures were accused of harassment, resulting in large settlements and a company-wide crisis. The network didn't need any more scandal. Instead of a drawn-out court struggle, Fox reportedly chose a quiet resolution that included a multi-million-dollar compensation paid to the accuser. The New Yorker's article was devastating. It appeared that Guilfoyle's resignation was anything but voluntary, and that the network had labored behind the scenes to keep the matter quiet. Those who feared anything was wrong, with her unexpected departure, were vindicated by this report. Nonetheless, despite the extensive allegations, Kimberly remained stubborn. She denied any misconduct, describing the allegations as baseless and politically motivated. She stated that she quit Fox News on her own initiative, eager to take on a new position in political activism. But the harm had been done. The revelation had sparked new inquiries about her past, and many saw her legacy at Fox News as soiled by scandal. The consequences include reputational damage and a career shift. The New Yorker investigation was more than a hit piece. It marked a watershed moment. For Kimberly Guilfoyle, the claims were more than simply accusations. They left an indelible mark on her public image. She was once a respected legal commentator and a fixture on one of cable news' most watched networks. But now, she finds herself in an altogether different situation on the outside looking in. The resignation from Fox News was one thing, but the aftermath altered everything. In the months following her departure, there was a noticeable shift in how she was seen. The media, which had previously expressed interest in having her as a guest, kept their distance. The legal community, where she had established her reputation long before television, was not eager to defend her. Fox News moved on immediately as if she never existed. There were no words of support. There is no acknowledgement of her years of work, just silence. The stillness was telling. While Fox News has been known to defend some of its beleaguered stars, Guilfoyle was not accorded the same courtesy. The network had already spent years dealing with public problems, and it appeared that they wished to prevent another prolonged crisis. Letting her go quietly without even a farewell section was a deliberate move. They were not simply severing relationships, they were deleting her presence. Being forced to leave the television industry left a gap for someone who had developed a career there. Her name, which had previously been connected with high-profile legal opinion and big news conversations, was now linked to a lingering scandal. Her credibility, which she had spent years nurturing, was under threat, and it would be difficult to repair. But Kimberly was not one to back down. Instead of attempting to recover popularity in the media sphere, she leaned into a new role, political advocacy. She had previously been working behind the scenes, but now she has emerged as a prominent player in conservative circles. She attended rallies, fundraisers, and events, demonstrating that she would not slip into obscurity. Aligning herself with politics was more than just a professional change. It was a strategic decision. The journalism world had closed its doors, but she found refuge in political circles. Her ability to command an audience, to talk confidently and authoritatively, made her an invaluable asset. She knows how to rally a crowd and deliver an impactful message. However, even as she discovered a new platform, the past pursued her. When she talked publicly, concerns about Fox News persisted. Interviews were tightly supervised, with topics avoided that could reveal uncomfortable information. While her fans applauded her transformation, her detractors would not let the story go. The allegations, the abrupt departure, the tales of settlements, it was all still there, lurking in the background. The narrative gradually settled. Guilfoyle had effectively migrated out of mainstream media and established herself in the political sector. She had lost her reputation as a legal expert on a major network, but she had acquired authority in a new way. Whether it was a deliberate move or simply the best alternative available, one thing was certain. She would not let the past define her. Still, there remained something unspoken and unfinished. For years, she had maintained a robust denial of the charges, but she had never addressed the situation in a way that satisfied her detractors. And, even after she had moved on, the story persisted. It lingered, anticipating the time when she would eventually break her silence. That moment, however, would not arrive until years later, when she fully acknowledged the toll it had taken on her. Behind the polished set designs and the fast-paced news cycle, Fox News has established a reputation for dealing with internal difficulties behind closed doors. Big names rarely left the network for no apparent reason. However, these motivations were frequently concealed beneath a well-crafted public narrative. Kimberly Guilfoyle's departure was no different. From the minute she walked out, it was evident that Fox would not acknowledge the true circumstances of her leaving. The network stayed silent, delivering no tributes or on-air farewells, only a quiet, unceremonious finish to over a decade of work. For longtime observers, it was unusual. Insiders recognized a common pattern. By the time reports arose that her resignation had been forced, the story had expanded beyond Kimberly Guilfoyle. It was about Fox's problem-solving techniques behind the scenes. The network had previously faced public scrutiny from workplace problems to high-profile lawsuits, and in each of those situations, the strategy was the same: settle swiftly, avoid public trials, and move on before the headlines became too detrimental. Guilfoyle's case stood noteworthy because it was about more than just one person's alleged misbehavior. It came down to how much Fox was willing to pay to make it disappear. When the New Yorker disclosed that her aide had received a multi-million-dollar settlement, the network's message was clear. They wanted this matter resolved as soon as possible. The settlement itself was revelatory. Why contest the claims if they were without merit? If her leaving was truly voluntary, why the silence? These were the questions left unanswered. The assistant, now financially compensated, was no longer a public participant in the conversation. The network had shut the door on the matter. Fox's strategy was not uncommon among media organizations coping with internal conflicts. But in Guilfoyle's instance, it appeared exceptionally quick. She had been one of their most prominent figures. However, when the issue arose, they cut connections without hesitation. It was a dramatic contrast to how other prominent personalities on the network had been treated. Despite serious claims, several had been publicly defended or given the opportunity to restore their image. However, Guilfoyle made no such effort. This simply fostered additional conjecture. Had she been sacrificed to keep the network safe from further scrutiny? Was there more to the claims than previously reported? Or was Fox simply cutting costs in a post-scandal atmosphere where they couldn't afford further bad publicity? Whatever the case, it was evident that the network had made a decision. This was not a debate they were willing to battle over. Guilfoyle's exit was quick, discreet, and permanent. But for her, it wasn't just about losing her job. Fox's handling of her leave conveyed a message that would linger with her long after the headlines faded. She had created a television career and spent years perfecting her public image, and then, in an instant, it disappeared. Fox News was more than just another employer. It was a brand, a platform, or a network that had given her power and reach. And now, it was as if nothing had ever happened. She has been a voice of authority for years. However, she had no control over the story surrounding her own departure. Fox had moved on. The public had its own account of events, and Guilfoyle, she was left with the one thing she had hoped to avoid, questions she couldn't fully answer. The prolonged hush. Why has she been quiet for years? Kimberly Guilfoyle quickly moved on to her next career after leaving Fox News. She quickly entered the political arena, appearing at rallies, fundraising events, and high-profile meetings. The move was strategic. Despite the fact that her television career had come to an abrupt end, she retained power, and she understood how to use it. But one thing was glaringly missing from her public appearances: any frank acknowledgement of what had happened at Fox News. For years, she avoided questioning, never discussing the circumstances of her departure in detail. Interviews centered on her new employment, advocacy activities, and personal life. Anything but the scandal that led to her departure. It wasn't merely a case of avoidance. It was a determined attempt to move on from a chapter that had nearly ruined everything she had accomplished. In the media business, silence may be as telling as a remark. Kimberly Guilfoyle's reticence to criticize Fox News spoke volumes, especially given her outspoken personality. It's not that she wasn't asked. Reporters inquired, writers speculated, and critics addressed the issue any time her name was mentioned. But she stood firm. She considered the past to be behind her. However, this did not mean that the controversy was resolved. The New Yorker story highlighted her departure, and when the headlines faded, the questions remained. Every public action she made was accompanied by reminders of the claims. Even though she refused to participate, the narrative was kept alive by online discussions, social media debates, and critical think pieces. Despite the scrutiny, she stood her ground. Some considered it an admission of guilt. Why else would she avoid talking about it? Others saw it as a calculated attempt to avoid giving the topic more attention. Regardless, the decision to remain silent had consequences. Her credibility in the media had dwindled. She was once regarded as a respected legal expert, but now her reputation has changed. Some viewed her as a liability. Others serve as a cautionary tale. However, for Guilfoyle, silence was more than just a choice. It was about survival. Addressing the claims directly will only increase scrutiny, raise more questions, and allow critics to scrutinize her every remark. And there was no legal matter ongoing or court battles to wage, so she was under no duty to explain herself. So she pushed forward. Her involvement in politics developed. Her public appearances have risen, and she created a new brand for herself. It was hardly the career she had envisioned. However, it was one that provided her with a platform while also keeping her current. That was important in a business where reinvention is key. Even as she began a new chapter, the past followed her. Every time she stepped into the spotlight, there was an unspoken tension, a lingering anticipation that she would have to confront what had happened. For years, she resisted. But time has a way of bringing unsolved issues to the forefront, and, after years of avoiding the subject, she would eventually speak about it. However, she would not do so in a courtroom or at a press conference. It would not come from a perfectly written remark or a controlled interview. Instead, it would occur at a moment of unadulterated honesty, a rare admission that revealed how much the tragedy had cost her. Kimberly Guilfoyle remained silent for many years. She had moved on, established a new job, and avoided addressing the one event that had radically altered her public image. However, at 55, Kimberly Guilfoyle said that she immediately left Fox News following this. The remarks had a rawness that no well-constructed statement could match. "It ruined me," she confessed, in a rare moment of contemplation. There was no spin, no legal jargon, just the honest, unpleasant truth. "I lost everything I had worked for in a matter of days. No explanation, no defense, just gone." For someone who had spent her career commanding a room with assurance, her voice now held a different weight, an edge of tiredness, a silent resentment. She'd spent years pretending it didn't bother her, moving forward, reinventing herself. But deep down, she'd never truly escaped it. People act like you can just move on. You can rewrite your own story and make everyone forget. But they don't forget. They never do. She was not searching for sympathy. She was not seeking to clear her name. If anything, it was a recognition of reality, a reality in which a single event or decision may end a career in an instant. You go from being someone people look up to someone people respect to a name they whisper about, she told me. I wasn't just out of a job. I was out of an identity. She didn't dwell on the past, did not go into detail regarding the inquiry or the settlement. She seemed to constantly keep that aspect to herself. However, she made it plain that her departure from Fox News was more than just a professional decision. It was a personal reckoning. For all the ways she attempted to rebuild, for all the ways she reinvented herself, she still felt as if she had been obliterated. "I gave that place everything," she recalled, "and the moment it became inconvenient, I was gone. No goodbyes, no second chances, just silence." In the end, that silence had been her greatest burden. It had followed her through every stage of her reinvention, every public appearance, every headline that refused to let the story die. And now, as she looked back on it, she wasn't asking for redemption. She was simply acknowledging what had already happened. "I'm still standing," she said finally, shaking her head, "but I'll never be the same. If one moment could erase everything you built, how would you fight to reclaim your name?"